All right, how's everybody doing? This is just going to be for fun. So I know a lot of people have been asking, "Hey, how does it work when you stream? I'm sorry, how does it work when you edit the show?" So we're going to be going through and editing episode 805. So on the Patreon, you probably saw that we have the unedited version, and so as we go through this episode, there's going to be cursing. So if you've got little ones, do be aware. This is not it's not like full of curse words, but it's also, there's potential for, Todd to say something inappropriate. So if you've got little ones watching, just do be aware it's not hyper family friendly. So, please be aware of that and be careful. All right. So let's do this. And we'll start listening.
Regional season myself because I didn't have any before this, but doing good.
I got a lot going on right now, but I am doing super awesome okay.
Only super awesome okay?
I'm a little better than super awesome okay. I'm just gonna keep it there right now. I got a lot of stuff going on, so I'm just trying to...
You don't want to tell anyone anything special? No announcements?
Oh no, I mean I can announce it now, or I can just hold it for later. It's just I'm good either way. But no, well, I guess since you started that off, yeah. So I am moving my shop. I am expanding and all kinds of stuff, bringing in new product, new game lines.
All right, let's clean this up here.
Game lines, hoping to offer a new crowd of people a fun place to hang out, and fingers crossed, maybe bring a regional to Central Virginia next year. So we're expanding out a game shop. We're moving to Ashland, Virginia. I've been working on that. Courtney and I have been working on that for the past month and a half. We just got verification back. I think it was Wednesday. We were able to announce it. We got the lease signed, got the location and all, and we've been working on that ever since then. So we plan to have the new location open on February 1st. Yay.
Awesome. So, yeah, if you're in the Central Virginia area, you should take a look at that. You've been sending some pictures on the tag site, and it looks really cool. I'm pretty excited. I'm hoping to come out and visit myself maybe this year. Hopefully. We'll see how that goes. But regional season is upon us, and we've seen a very, very interesting swing of things because initially we were kind of stuck in that Snoke meta, and then the Holocron came out, and we have seen a lot of different decks rise to the surface. And now that we've had the late tail end of December for those decks to kind of get played, this was the first week of regionals in the 2019 season, and we had one in Dallas. You had one in Virginia. There were some other ones. I think there was Utah, Ohio. There were other ones that happened over the weekend, but I think the meta is starting to not necessarily figure itself out, but players are beginning to gravitate towards things that they feel either comfortable with or will give them the biggest advantage when playing, 6 to 7 rounds and then going into the top cut. So let's just kind of start talking a little bit about your preparation. So I didn't play. I judged, as I generally do. I'm not much of a player during store champs or regional season. I like to judge and hang out and meet people. So I'm a tester, so I did help one of my friends test his Vader deck, and we went through a pretty hefty gauntlet of things. And then I had some other friends who we were just kind of jumping ideas off of in, testing their decks out as well. But what did you play for your regional, Todd, and what were you prepared for? What were you expecting to see for your event? For your event.
So I ended up, I stuck with what I said I was going to be on. I was on Han Biggs. I like the deck. I've had fun with the deck. And with everything else that's been going on for the past few weeks, like I really didn't have a whole lot of time to try and get into something new. So I played what I played at the North Carolina Regional and made some adjustments to it for what I thought I would see. And made some adjustments for it for Vader. We felt that shields were pretty strong right now. So we tweaked the deck, put in a couple dug ins. Rick actually had an entrenched in his deck as well. We subbed the entrench in place of the second chance we were running in the deck, which through testing and through playing it and through the tournament, I feel like played better for him. I actually took a last minute gamble on the deck, made a couple of changes on the car ride up, and put in 2 shield generators because I was just too worried about vehicle hate, and they actually came in extremely handy. And the shields worked. The shields worked really good against Vader. They worked really well against damage from hand, which was where I felt the deck had the weakness at before. It played really well. I wish I'd gotten a little bit more time to test with it, but with everything else going on, like the regional this weekend was kind of like not the most forefront thing on my mind.
Opening a new shop.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, and especially later in the week. The later in the week it got, and once we found out everything was going forward, like I was like, all right, I'm just going to be playing what I'm just going to be playing what I'm playing, and maybe I'll make a change on the way up. And
do you have any more regionals coming up here?
We do, but I'm not going to make that because the weekend of their next one in Maryland is the 26th, and that's the weekend before I open the new shop. So that weekend, there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on down here. But for this one, I guess because that's where everybody's going to want to know about, was up at Huzzah Games in Ashburn. We had 64 players, I think, for the thing. It was 60 or 64. Huzzah put out an announcement that they had capped it, so 64 was the cap they had. The Golden Dice guys were there. They ran a stream on it for the entire tournament. Arrowbrook was up there as well. Rick and myself were there, and we took about 20 of us from Richmond up. So it was between 18 and 20 that we took from Tag and Richmond up to Huzzah. So we had a pretty good showing going up there.
Is that the only one in the state?
That's the only one in the state this year. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I want one in my shop next year. So then that would be right in the middle of Virginia. So FFG, if you're listening, you can just look me up on Facebook, give me a call, or I can call you, and we can work this out.
So yeah, we also had 64. It's actually really cool because last year I was told they did not have the full capacity, so it was nice to give everyone the Vader Saber as prize support, and everyone was able to walk away with something. We saw a lot, and I mean a lot, of Vader. I didn't do the exact math, but I think we eyeballed it at around like 65-70% of the players were running Vader of some fashion. We saw some interesting changes. So there was a Vader Sienna Ree. We saw Vader Greedo. We saw Vader Jawa. I could have sworn, I'm pretty sure there was a Vader. Oh, nuts! I want to say a trooper of some sort, but there was just Vader everywhere. And since you played and since we tested, I want to talk a little bit about that because I understand that, Vader's a very expensive card. It's a very popular deck, and there are some very, very potent things that Vader decks can do, especially turn 1 cheating out the Vader's Fist with friends in high places, or just hard casting it if you happen to have Theed and then you roll the 2 resources on Vader and you're just like, okay, here's a Vader's Fist. What were some of the things you were doing to try and tech against these big plays, or Fear and Dead Men turn 1? That was another big swing for Vader decks. If you were playing against a 3-wide, even a 2-wide, getting 8 damage across the board early game is no joke. And a lot of decks that won in that very explosive and very bursty turn 1, it was very hard to come back from that, especially if you didn't have a Fear and Dead Men to counter or a Vader's Fist to counter in response.
Yeah, for me, what I ended up doing,
in response.
Yeah, for me, what I ended up doing, because the Han Biggs deck, turn 1 is your weakest spot. If you try and rush out your Falcon and have no resources left for mitigation, you're in a real bad spot if Vader hits something big. So what we ended up doing was running 4 weapon upgrades. We ran 2 of the hand cannon and 2 of the hidden blasters. And in the Vader match in particular, we would actually hard mulligan for a character upgrade and look for a 0-cost piece of mitigation. I had actually teched in, Lothcat Mouth for 0-cost mitigation, just because Han generally gets out fast and has the ability to resolve pretty quickly. So Lothcat getting rid of one of your less valuable dice after you've done that is really handy to keep them off of pairing some big damage sides. Or if, you know, they happen to drop Vader's stick and roll in a 3 or 4 modified to tag along with it, it's really good just to get rid of that Vader's stick die, so you don't have to worry about them rolling another one back in after they resolve. And that actually worked very Vader deck all day. And I won that match. So, unfortunately, so, I mean, you know, if he got, he might still yank that out. But my turn 1 felt really good. I had a weapon upgrade. I had a 0-cost mitigation, and I had a dug in. So I knew I was going to be okay. I just had to make it through turn 1, and then turn 2, I ramp out the Falcon, gain an extra resource off a Han special, dug in on Biggs, and I'm feeling comfortable. So, and I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling comfortable. So, and that was really the tech that we put in there for Vader, was I'm feeling comfortable. So, and that was really the tech that we put in there for Vader, was the shields and some 0-cost mitigation to help with round 1. Because after you get control of the battlefield, and if you can maintain it, your other mitigation is just too good. And you can burn a lesser mitigation, make him roll in the die, and then you use some of your good stuff like aerial advantage or defensive position, or, you know, if you get lucky, easy pickings, and just take care of his dice at one time. And you also have suppressive fire in that deck too, which also helps against Vader.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest challenge for a lot of players is trying to figure out how to deal with the big threats in Vader decks because of the popularity. And I think something that we should probably discuss for a moment is a lot of the tricks from Vader actually come from hand. So things like Friends in High Places, you can cheat out a lot of really nasty things. You can cheat out a lot of really nasty things. Obviously, you're going for Vader's Fist. Fist is a problem for Vader's Fist. The aforementioned Vader's Fist is a problem you have to deal with in the hand, because once it's out on the table, it's just there's not a really economical way to deal with it right now. Like, you can vandalize it, but are you really going to have 5 dice? You can use cards that let you pay the cost of a support to blow it up, but are you going to have 5 resources on top of, you know, resources to pay for mitigation and your upgrades? And then they're going to have things like Price of Failure, Fear and Dead Men. Like, a lot of the tricks in a Vader deck come from the deck itself, and I feel like right now some of the better ways to deal with that would be, and this is what we were teching in. So when we were practicing, I favored the Shadowcaster deck because that's the closest thing to a mill deck, control deck that there is right now that's powerful enough to go toe to toe with Vader, not just get its butt handed to it. So we were trying to prepare. Like I said, Carlos is my buddy, and he's playing the Vader deck, so he wants to know what are some big threats that might come up against him that he has to deal with. and we started to figure out that one place is really good.
Yep.
Because you get to look.
Yep.
Because you get to look at your opponent's hand and get rid of things that are problematic. So you're going to be able to get rid of cards like Friends in Low, or Friends in High, Price Clear. I mean, sometimes they'll have like the End of the World. There's like a 1-drop. Is it Unyielding that lets you make damage unblockable?
Yeah.
That's a nasty one. Clash, scary. Force Strike is scary.
I think Conflicted is just as scary too, because it can either damage or save him. Put a couple shields on him. That's when it's running around here quite a bit.
Yeah, we started teching in Conflicted as well for Vader. But the other thing that's nice. About Friends in Low is once you get a look at their hand, you can then use Scruffy right after that to get rid of the other threat that you need to get rid of. So if you look at their hand and you get rid of a Price of Failure, and you see that they're sitting on a Vader's Fist, you can immediately, as your next action, Scruffy and say support and get rid of that problem. If you're lucky, you can get rid of a multiple cards. Starting to find out that the cards that let you get into the opponent's hand and strip away options are probably some of your better early game plays, just because there were way too many games we saw where turn 1 you get places, you get Vader's Fist, and the problem is you can only use it if you have a combined value of 7 or more showing, which generally means that's damage on Vader. So you're immediately facing down a butt ton of damage. You have a Vader's Fist to deal with. Greedo hasn't even rolled out, and someone is probably going to die that round if you have a small character at the start of round 2 if you have a medium-sized character. And that's just deck is it can just crank out insane amounts that we've never seen before in Destiny, and the only way to stop it is to preemptively strike. Character or at strike.
Yeah, we had Friends in High, or I'm sorry, Friends in Low, and the Han Bigs. The main purpose of that was to snuff out vehicle removal, vandalize, sabotage, surgical strike, stuff like that. But it was very handy also in the Vader match, and we found that in testing. So that is a solid call. It gave me good information in my match against Vader. I knew he had the Friends in High, but I had him low enough to where I felt with a solid rollout I could get rid of Vader before he got off the Friends in High. So I took his mitigation to make sure he couldn't stop whatever happened. Granted, I missed the damage that turn, and he did get the Friends in High off, but it was less effective. He didn't hit a Vader's Fist there. And I don't even know if he hits the Vader's Fist there, I don't even know if that's good enough to stop what happened after the reroll. So, because I think I hit 12 damage after a reroll. But yeah, friends, anything that can get you in their hand, that can disrupt their plays or that can stop them from activating Vader a second time in a turn, like those are the kind of cards you got to hit and got to look for.
Another tech card that we were talking about, it never made it into the deck during testing. We really need to talk about this too. Card that we were talking about, it never made it into the deck during testing. We really need to talk about this too. Theed is everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
This is not something we're just making up. Like we counted the decks, and 44 out of 64 decks were running Theed.
Jeez.
44 out of 64 decks were running Theed.
Jeez. Jeez.
I'm sure you had a lot of people running Theed, and it kind of shifts the dynamic of Destiny because the game was designed around two resources per turn, and then whatever you can muster up with your dice or card effects. With Theed, it essentially gives one player 3 resources per turn. We've already seen how powerful that is with cards like Profitable Connection or even Lando 1, and how expensive he was to field because that's how FFG valued that extra resource at the start of the game. But not only do you get that resource at the start of the game, you get it through the entirety of the game if you retain the battlefield. So in order to counter that, on top of Vader, because having 3 resources for Vader means a lot of things. You can drop a Vader Saber, you can drop a Maul Saber, you can drop an Ancient and have money for removal. If you roll out the 2 resources on Vader, you can hard cast a Fist. There's so many things you can do with that extra resource. So we were discussing using cards like Diversion and essentially Disruption from hand. But the question really, realistically, is that going to be fast enough to stop a Vader or any deck realistically? And I'd love to hear your take on it, because I'm trying to figure out what other ways are there to disrupt from hand consistently. Because if you only have 2 copies of Diversion and you don't see it early game, you don't really need it late game.
I still think the hardest part with hand disruption in general always comes down to it not being fast enough oftentimes, and because Vader only needs like actions before his ability is relevant. If you like, it's just because there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like my counter for Theed was play a neutral character and be faster than them. Like that was my entire. That was part of the reason why I liked Han Big so much in this meta right now, is because anything with a neutral character that can come hit hard and hit fast and abuse the battlefield and take it from your opponent just seemed like a smart call. And the Han Kira's, I think that's part of the reason why Han Kira is doing so well.
Yeah, I think Han Kira is pretty good.
I think it's very good.
Reasons.
And there's a couple different variants with Kira that are running around that are really, really good. There was a Kira Rex that one of our local guys was playing that was as fast, if not faster, than Han Biggs, and just really abused the battlefield and made you wish that you didn't play Theed. Because he's taking advantage of the resources and doing all the nasty things that you can do, and he's just as fast, if not faster, and it's every turn. So that's really the way that we around here had been trying to counter Theed. So that's really the way that we around here had been trying to counter Theed, was actually just trying to take it from them and abuse them with it. I think something should be done with it. I'm not quite sure what needs to be done. It's really done. It's really, really tricky. Like if there was one card that they could just straight up ban and everybody would be okay with it, it's probably that site.
I think if you put a stipulation to make it so that it cannot stipulation to make it so that it cannot be, the power action cannot be used the first round of the game. It puts it pretty much even with the power level of the other resource gaining battlefields, with a little bit of a nuance to it, where if you get a resource, that resource is vulnerable. This way you can take it on your turn when you need it, especially if you have a neutral character. You get the bonus of it being like a truce, like a free, free with ambush. It's like a protected resource, so that's kind of nice. But I think really the I don't think it would be unplayable if you made it unusable on the first turn. It would just be the same level as the other ones with a little bit of different use.
And Nick, sorry about that, Nick. I coughed right in the middle of you, man. I tried to hit the mute button. I thought I got it.
Same level as the other ones with a little bit of different use.
Sorry about that, Nick. I coughed right in the middle of you, man. I tried to hit the mute button. I thought I got it.
Nah, you're fine. I don't know if that would be
different use.
I don't know if that would be the
little bit of different use.
I don't know if that would be the biggest problem with Theed, and that was a conversation at the shop during the event, was it's just too good.
It is, yeah.
And you guys, you know, Rick and Todd were even saying in a previous episode, it's so good. If you win the battlefield roll, you will give your opponent 2 shields just to take Theed if you didn't bring it. Or bring it. Or if you brought, like if you brought your Theed, you take your Theed and they get shields. I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, there's never been a battlefield that you are willing to instantly just be like, here, take shields because I want the money. And like you also said, it's essentially profitable connection the plot in a battlefield. And you get a battlefield on top of that. So you can do crazy things like Theed and armored reinforcement.
Yep.
Yes.
Or you can
Reinforcement.
Yep.
Yes.
or you could do like the top. We had the player that finished in the top 2 played God, I'm gonna screw this up. He played Beckett Towson with profitable connection on Theed. Theed.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
5. That's 5 resources for turn 1. Profitable connection on Theed.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
5. That's 5 resources for turn 1.
Wow. That
Turn 1. Turn 1. Turn 1.
wow. That's awesome.
Have fun with that.
Did he play Fist?
Oh, of course he did. I feel like that's a no-brainer. He
Fist?
Oh, of course he did. I feel like that's a no-brainer. He would play Fist. He played his main goal was to play Beckett's rifle first action. First action, and then
what does that one do again?
Beckett's rifle. When you play it, it disrupts a resource from your opponent. So he starts with 5.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So you start. He effectively starts with 5. You start with 1.
Well, he starts actually with 3.
No.
He can get
starts
5
with
for
3.
free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, effectively.
But he also
Fire-
gives you an extra resource when you power action on Beckett, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like at the start of the game, he has 3 resources. His first action is you have 1 resource. Have fun with that.
Yep. Yep. Second action is power action Theed.
Right.
Then you roll in back.
Right.
Then you roll in Beckett. Then you roll in Towson. Correct. Yay! And then you steal a resource.
You got to deal with that.
Yay! And then you steal a resource.
You got to deal with that.
What's Beckett's rifle special do, or does it not have a special on the rifle?
I think it does 2 unblockable and 3 if your opponent has no resources. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
So it doesn't actually disrupt them. Yeah, it's
right. But when you plan on Beckett, you just flat out destroy a resource.
Yeah.
So you're instantly starting with a 1 to 3 swing, which is awful. Flat out destroy a resource.
Yeah.
So you're instantly starting with a 1 to 3 swing, which is awful. Awful. Because now you have to roll resources to just play your fundamental upgrades.
Like that,
you're already.
Yeah, like that.
You're already behind because you've upgrades.
Yeah,
you're already behind because you've lost dice. Upgrades.
Yeah,
you're already behind because you've lost dice that you need to deal damage.
Yeah, like just that start alone makes that deck almost worth playing in my book. Right, like. After I saw it, I was like, maybe I need to look into this.
I mean, I like the idea. I've wondered if there was a deck that would play Profitable Connection Theed, because just being able to have 4 resources instantly is nuts. Sources instantly is nuts. And with Tobias, you get that 5th one, and that's pretty significant. You are giving your opponent essentially a 3rd resource, but like you said, if you play the rifle, you're neutering them from 3 to 2. You know, from 3 to 2. You know, all the math. But I mean, like that, and Talisman. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah,
I would like to see that deck list. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it does sound like a lot of fun.
To see that deck list, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it does sound like a lot of fun. It sounds
that'd be very problematic for vehicles too.
I feel like it sounds like a table flipping deck. You'd be like, you know what, man, I don't even want to play you anymore.
I mean, that's what I play is table. I play mill. What do you expect?
Well,
I want you to flip the table and give me a free win. I mean, nice.
And speaking of mill, because I haven't said it yet about the regional yesterday, congrats to my boy Minion for taking down the regional at Huzzah, playing his Yoda Leia 2 mill deck.
Funny.
Mill deck.
You know what's really funny? Our finals was Vader. Our finals was Vader versus Yoda and Leia 2 as well. So Leia, I call it the old folks home deck because you got old man Yoda and old lady Leia. But it was a very, very interesting version of mill. It reminds me of the old Riken, Riken deck. It's fairly aggressive. It uses a lot of the tricks that Red has to, hit and run. You can use your Commando Raid finally to just eat their hand alive. When Leia rolls the nuts, because we saw a couple games where Leia would roll the 2 of the 2 discards, and then your opponent goes, oh, okay, I'll play, this 1 card I have left. And you're like, cool, Commando Raid? And I go, crap. And then you use her power action to use the other 2 to mill off the top of the deck. And then Yoda's making money and flipping dice and giving you shields and milling. It's a really interesting deck. I think it has a lot of potential in this meta right now.
Yeah, me and Rick and I were talking about this week or so ago, and I didn't have time to really get into a mill deck and try and figure it out, but we felt like shields were really strong right now, and we felt like Mill was in a really good place. And
certain types of mill.
Well, we had talked about the one we had talked about was the Yoda, Cassian, Anakin. We thought that was pretty good. But
so they went
I was
undefeated here.
Yeah, well, I like the shields too, though, which was why I was trying to look into red. And when I looked at Minion's deck, because he came up Friday to tag and was play testing with us before the regional. I was like, wow, I really wanted more shield generation in it because he didn't use any of the shield tricks that you can use in there. But he seems to know better than me because he won. He won.
Yeah, I'm looking at Minion's deck on the DB right now. It looks pretty similar to what we Dallas. I'd have to look at the actual deck list. Compare, but both of them are. I'd have to look at the actual deck list to compare, but DB right now, it looks pretty similar to what we saw here at Dallas. I'd have to look at the actual deck list to compare, but both of them are kind of doing this same. What you were saying with Shields is here at Dallas. I'd have to look at the actual deck list to compare, but both of them are kind of. What you were saying with Shields is not necessarily worrying about blocking the damage. Well, what I saw was David was the guy. David was the guy who was piloting. David was the guy who was piloting the Old Folks Home deck. He would use Yoda to flip and mill. Or to mill and create shields.
More than money.
Right.
Money.
Right, because you really didn't need, like, you have 4 speeds, so you can like cheat out a bunch of things. He would go back and forth in a shield, but he was never well, I say he was never out of money, but in both games he lost, he was 1 resource short of the removal in his hand. So that might have been a problem. But like most like Beguiles 2, Commando Raids 1, Hidden Motive 0, like what else? Motivate 0, Overconfidence is 1. Like most of Pacify 0, like most of these removal spells are like 1. There's Beguiles 2. Most everything's not terribly expensive, and then you've got force at 1, force jump at 1, force speed at 0, meditation. So if you ever got meditation out, it's 2, but I think only came out in 1 game. So, and then suppressive, like suppressive 0, like a lot of these upgrades are not very expensive, and what you were saying, what you really want is longevity. As long as you have the money you need at the time you need it, you're fine. But if you have more money and not enough shields, you're dead. So you have to be very careful. You're dead. So you have to be very careful in balancing Yoda with, do I need the money or do I need to block the damage that's coming in? It was a very interesting game, and for people who are listening, without being there, like I can give a very short, like too long didn't read. The finals were 2 friends playing against each other. So we had David and Thomas. The winner was Thomas. The winner was Thomas. The winner was Thomas. The winner was Thomas. I'm gonna say his name wrong, I'm pretty sure, but it's Thomas Archready, and he played very well with his friend David. They actually drove up together in the same vehicle. It was 2-0, and literally both games came down to one last roll, one last action. Both games, David milled Thomas out. He had I think he had like 1 or 2 cards in his hand, nothing left in his deck, and if Thomas didn't roll lethal, he would have lost. Unfortunately, Vader has very high values, and both games he had Vader's fist out on the table, so that does make a pretty significant difference when you need to punch out 4 or 5 damage, and you really don't have the ability to reroll, but you can still roll Vader's fist twice, and indirect damage is pretty direct when you only have 1 character. But by no means was it a blowout. It was very tight, very well. I don't think Killer is hyper dominant. The reason why I say that is our top 2 players were actually who's known as Justin, who's known as Inception on the Discord, Knights Run Discord. He played Yoda, Cassian, Anakin, and went undefeated, and then he lost in top 8, which I was like, nuts. Mill player bites the dust. And then the next best player, the number 2 seed, was Han Quickra. So the Vader seeds were actually, I believe, 5, 7, and 8. I could be wrong, but I know the top 2 were not Vader seeds. So basically, the point I'm trying to keep, were not Vader seeds. So basically, the point I'm trying to get at, for people who are listening to the show, a lot of people have said on different forums, social media here and there, they're kind of worried that we might be experiencing a similar meta to Thrawn Snoke, where there's just this deck, it's really dominant, it's going to be everywhere. And although I agree in popularity wise, you're probably going to see a lot more Vader because it's Darth freaking. I mean, this is the Lord, the Sith. He's the bad guy. Like in all of the movies that we enjoy, 4, 5, and 6. Sith, he's the bad guy. Like in all of the movies that we enjoy, 4, 5, 6. Like Vader is a scary mofo. Like this guy just shows up and you're dead. Like everyone cheered at the end of Rogue One when that lightsaber just extended. You know exactly who he is. You know exactly what he's gonna do. People are freaking out. It's like, oh my god, it's Vader. He's gonna freaking mess these kids up. And you know what? I think he should probably do that in the card game he's represented in.
I mean, this is the first Vader that has actually felt like that Vader, the one that everyone like wants to see, the one that's just like, holy crap, it's Vader coming down the hall, he's gonna choke us out, slice us down.
Right. Yeah, right. But I will say, and I think Todd can attest to this, Vader decks are not just number 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, 5 seed, 6 seed, and then whoever's left over just happened to get through the gauntlet. The Vader decks are there, but they're just the best thing ever. They're undefeatable, and it's game over. Like there are ways to deal with Vader, and it will take some experience and some testing, but it is a beatable deck. You just have to know how to sequence your removal properly, you prioritize targets appropriately, and understand what to dig for in a given situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, Vader is what we expected him to be when we saw him in the first spoilers. He was going to be a deck that was going to come out and be good. and he is good. He is a gatekeeper. If you want to top 8 at your regional, you better be able to get through Vader. I mean, and that's what he was supposed to be. I feel like that was the plan, was for him to be a gatekeeper deck. If you can't handle that, you're probably not ready for your top 8 regional.
I think those decks are great to have in the meta though too, like because it's a deck that people will play. It won't, but it won't. Like a gatekeeper deck will never be the most dominant deck, but it will be a deck that can win, will be there at all times at some place somewhere, and it's just a good deck. Because like we've seen it before, like Palpatine was a gatekeeper back when he first came out, the first one in Spirit of Rebellion.
Yep.
That was the first real gatekeeper deck, I'd say. Awakenings was a little weird. I wouldn't say anything was really gatekeepery there. Like you could maybe say Vader Raider.
Yeah, I mean Vader Raider probably was the gatekeeper. I mean it did win Worlds.
Very different version, but yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's the point, right? Like Vader's supposed to be the big bad. Like he's supposed to be the baddest motherfucker. Like he's supposed to be the baddest motherfucker. Motherfucker you've ever seen.
There it is.
Big red dick in his hand. Big red dick in his hand. In his hand. Big red in his hand.
Man. I've been waiting. I'm like, when's he gonna make me edit this? Yeah. Where are the Utinis?
But no, I mean that's
Come
what
on,
he's.
you can't disappoint the fans.
Yeah, I know.
We want the Utini, man.
Fuck.
No, not like that.
Fuck.
No, not like that.
No, but I mean that's what he's supposed to be, and I
Point the fans.
yeah, I know.
We want the Utini, man. No, not like that.
No, but I mean that's what he's supposed to be, and I feel like if you are disappointed in the meta or in playing against Vader right now, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry. Like it sometimes he will just roll you off the board, and it's gonna happen. And part of the reason it's gonna happen is not because it's Vader, but because it's a dice game. That has the possibility of happening. The only thing you can do is prepare as well as you can and build your deck as best you can to defend against those kind of things.
Also, I want to interject: test against it.
Absolutely.
If you don't test against it,
absolutely.
If you don't know what you're doing and you go online, you go to the DB, you go to a website, you go to a YouTube, you go to wherever, and someone says, hey, do A, do B, do C, you'll win, and you don't actually practice that, you're going to have a bad time. There was a lot of people I heard talking that would say, man, I saw someone do this and I did the same thing and I didn't win. I don't get it. Well, I wanted to ask them, how many times did you practice? Did you practice that scenario specifically? Did you play against the Vader deck? How many times did you play against the Vader deck? Like it's never no game, no deck is just as simple as I found this on the internet, I put the cards together, and I just win. With the exception of like red deck wins in Magic the Gathering, there's really not a card game that you can just throw some cards together and just win. You have to know what you're doing, to know your matchups. You have to know your counters and so many other variables that we've talked about on the show. But yeah, as a gatekeeper, this is a deck you will see, not should see, but you will see this at whatever given. Will see this at whatever given local meta you're playing at, and so you should absolutely understand what the deck is, what the deck does, and what you and your deck can do to play around it.
I agree.
I mean, I understand that Vader decks are getting a lot of talk, and Theed is getting a lot of talk, mostly because these are just the most commonplace things right now in the meta. But something I did want to bring up that we were talking about before we started recording is a significant lack of Shadowcaster decks in both of our regionals. Like I said, I didn't go through the list of 64 players and like count everything exactly, but based on what I saw during the day, I remember at least a minimum of 3 Shadowcaster decks, and there might have been, we'll just say, margin of error 1 or 2. So at the maximum, 5 out of 64 people playing Shadowcaster, and I know you, Todd, were saying there wasn't that many either for you.
I don't even recall seeing one, but I mean, I am probably not the best. I am probably not the best reporter for this regional. I was playing, I was having fun. Like, it was a day off for me from everything else that I've been doing. So I was just kind of hanging out and having a good time. But I did not see a shadow anywhere near me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Taking a day off is
anywhere near me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Taking a day off is great. You don't want to worry about those kinds of things. But amongst ourselves, I'd love to discuss that. Why do you think Shadowcaster is not? Why do you think Shadowcaster is not seeing play, especially when it's previously won a regional? It has the damage output to actually beat Vader, and it has enough mitigation and health to deal with pretty much every deck right now in the meta. There isn't really a bad matchup for that list,
except
other
for
than you're in Dead Man turn 1.
Except for probably Mill. Except for probably Mill. I feel like Mill is, and that's the thing, right? Like,
I mean, if Mill doesn't have a way to get rid of the Shadowcaster, then it's still pretty decent there.
Don't forget, Armored Reinforcement pulls from discard.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like if you can't get it off the field, that's still a very, very potent deck because of the fact that it pulls it from the discard.
So I don't know about your
from the discard.
So I don't know about your regional, but I feel like my regional, 85% of the people had a way to deal with a vehicle.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on what you mean by deal with it. So, and that's kind of what I was going to go say with Shadowcaster. Probably the number one reason is Disable is back. Or, sorry, I don't know why I said back. Disable is here for the first time ever. It's been around since Empire at War, I believe, because I pulled that out to put it in my deck recently.
Yep.
And I was like, which set was this in? Yeah, it's been out for over a year. It's going away, right, in a few months. And it's seeing the first play now. But yeah, like most decks actually have Disable in it, the 0 cost shut off, big support with 3 mods on it. Why not?
Well, it's just a flat, it's a yellow neutral event that says exhaust a support. Just
it works on Vader's Fist too. That's the other cool part. It's not just vehicle. It's just So it's just, yeah, if that's what it's going to be like, that's definitely a strong card. And we are seeing pretty much every deck with yellow trying to fit it in somewhere somehow, because I mean, if Vader's Fist in his if Vader's running Vader's Fist in his deck, and that's a big portion of the meta, and you have these vehicle decks, it seems like a no-brainer. And that is a big shutoff to Shadowcaster, on top of the nerf to strategic planning that will prevent you from readying the Shadowcaster with it while you have any mods attached to it. So
But the other thing that we're seeing have play in my area is fucking Sabotage. In my area is fucking Sabotage. Sabotage. Oh, Sabotage. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, I remember that card.
Oh,
so like
you want to talk
discard
about
your whole hand but kill their
yeah, you want to talk about a table flipping, inciting card. I had that played on me. Hey Tommy, I'm talking to you. I had that played on me 3 games in a row in testing, and I wanted to flip a table on a dude.
Well, let's make good radio.
They do have to kill their whole hand.
Do?
I'm sorry?
Well, I was gonna say we got to make good.
I'm sorry?
Well, I was gonna say we got to make good radio.
I'll tell you, because I played that back in Spirit Rebellion in my Phasma deck.
Say we got to make good radio.
I'll tell you, because I played that back in Spirit Rebellion in my Phasma deck to get rid of Planetary Uprising and
Oh wow,
Imperial Inspection back during the Funkar days. So I definitely played that card back in the day in Phasma, but it's a 1-cost yellow event that says discard a support from play, discarding the number of cards from your hand equal to its cost. So if you're playing against like Imperial Inspection or Salvage Stand, you can just pay 1 and get rid of it, which is kind of how like Vandalize works. And the big difference from Vandalize is you're using cards in your hand as resources versus character dice, which you can make arguments both ways as to what's better or not. If you have a pretty consistent deck, you might not need the cards in your hand. You can still make a lot out of your turn with the character dice. But if you kill a deck's one-shot big vehicle that's defining their deck, you basically will win the game.
Right.
Well, hold on. You run 2 Shadowcasters because of that, though.
I mean, true, you do, but you can only Armored Reinforcement 1, and the amount that it sets you behind after that happens is enough to probably give up a whole round of the game for.
Right, especially if the Shadowcaster has an Astromech on it and it can reset and do its thing twice, or another mod. So like then all of a sudden, if you start to factor in the effective card removal you just did, you got the Shadowcaster, 2 mods, and an Astromech. Well, I just got rid of 4 cards for 4 cards, and now those 4 cards I got rid of were going to do their thing twice this turn.
Right. I agree.
So, I mean, the value in the card is there. You are giving up a turn, but the fact that it comes from hand like that and you can't really prepare for it unless you can get into their hand and find it on the turn they get it, because that's the trick with that card.
It's way easier to use than Vandalize when you just
really
right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So question for you. Do you sabotage? Do you sabotage? Well, you can't sabotage to get rid of a Vader's Fist unless you draw a card. That's the problem.
Vader's Fist is not killable with it. With it, or at least in most normal stances, it's not killable.
Well, technically, so I figured that out too. So you could play Don't Get Cocky to draw 2 cards and then get a fist, but that feels like a bad combination.
That does feel like a bad combination.
But yeah, I mean, so there was a lot of vehicle removal. All of us, like EMP grenades are awesome right now. EMP grenades are awesome right now.
That's a scary card.
And if you saw Minions deck, there was 2 in there as well. So I mean,
Yeah. David Fry was also running. I saw one. I assume he was running 2, just because there's nothing wrong with that card. There's literally no downside to it. Literally no downside to it.
yeah,
Especially with Yoda, you could just like special chain into it.
well, and the other thing is for the mill deck, it has a 2-for-1 mill side on it as well.
Yep, it sure does. It also has Disrupt, which we did see play against Vader, trying to shut out the hard casting of Vader's Fist.
I will say that I've taken more disrupt sides, even on a 1 disrupt side, in the past month and a half than I think I've ever taken in playing Destiny.
Well, you're not a control player.
Okay, that's fine, but still, like, it's just showing the value of $1 right now. Like, I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, like, this is something we've discussed in previous episodes. When we were joking around that Convergence, everyone gets a 2 focus. The reality of Destiny as a game is it's evolved in terms of the economy. So back in Awakenings, you would pay 2 resources. You would pay 2 resources and your max benefit was like you could at a crazy point in time get rid of all sticks or all guns, and like that was like your maximum value out of a 2 cost. And then it started to get a little crazier with things like Ancient Lightsaber, where you could get like a +3 modified side, or you could heal yourself, or you could do both. Like you could resolve the dice and then you can like as an action heal yourself. And then we started seeing 3 cost weapons become just kind of nutty with Maul Saber and then Vader Saber, and then we have Vader's Fist. And like the evolution of what you get for a resource is much, much, much more efficient than it used to be, which inherently means Disrupt becomes better as well, because choking out those resources doesn't allow your opponent to have nearly as an efficient turn as they want.
Yeah.
It also makes discard better.
Yeah.
Also makes discard better because the cards in your hand are just inherently better with more options. Because the cards in your hand are just inherently better with more options and more things you can do, as opposed to back in Awakenings, you only had so many cards in the set, and it was pretty much guaranteed you were going to have the exact same set of cards because those were just the only options you have. Now you can play one-ofs, you can do all kinds of different combinations of cards, and all of them are viable. So being able to strip those options out of your opponent's hand is a lot more valuable than it used to be in Awakenings and Spirit of Rebellion days.
Yep.
Nope.
Nope. You disagree, sir? Nope. You disagree, sir?
No, you're right. No, you're right.
You right? Where did I hear? Oh, that there's a line of that from My Hero Academia. It's like, you right? A big thing that's going on. You right? Where did I hear? Oh, that there's a My Hero Academia. It's like, you right? A big thing. A big thing that's going on with Destiny a big thing that's going on with Destiny, I think for me this is exciting because we haven't seen this in a while, is the meta is still very young and still very open, and we're starting to see local communities come together and try and figure out how to beat certain things. So some people are trying to figure out how to beat Theed, what to do about it. Some people are trying to figure out how to beat Vader. And I think that as we get a little bit deeper into the year, as we get into mid-January, February, I think we're going to see some very interesting innovation. And I don't think the meta is figured out by any means. And that's really exciting for me because stuff all the time. We talk to our friends locally about stuff, and it's just kind of interesting that Destiny now has I don't know, I wouldn't call Vader deck like the villain deck to beat, but it's kind of the thing everyone's looking at and going, do I want to play it? Yes. How do I pilot it? Or no, how do I beat it? And there's just kind of this really interesting stirring where everyone is just kind of working in tandem to become a better player, to find better tech options, to find better pairings and combinations, and just kind of see what is available, because we do have 6 sets. This is the first time we've ever had 2 entire blocks available to us, and when rotation happens we go back to 4. So this only happens every year and a half that you'll have access to 6 sets at any given time. And I think it's really cool because there's still a lot of things out there that we haven't necessarily figured out where they fit into this Awakenings and Legacies block meta right now.
Yeah, I think this is the first time you're going to have that quote-unquote gatekeeper deck stick around through the entire meta as well. Because while he might not win a bunch of tournaments later down the road, he's definitely going to be hiding around, and you're still going to have to get throwing.
I don't see him getting nerfed either.
Right.
Is there a reason to? No.
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 No. No.
So,
not really.
But
and you'll see him at Worlds too. I guarantee it.
I do think that you're going to see the rise of Mill, and this weekend is the start of it.
Oh, dude, that's so discouraging.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
I think
Mill was the rise of like the last tournament. I feel. Well, no, okay, no, wasn't there, but Gen Con being that other big one that was dominated by Mill. I'm not ready for it. Give me like another 6 months.
No, you better be ready for it at your regional.
You need to
start
getting
that's what I'm
ready.
saying. I don't want to be ready for it.
Well, you better just go ahead and plan for it.
I mean, we saw.
Hey, none of my people. No one in Madison's going to be playing Mill.
Well, then no one in Madison is going to win. Madison is going to win.
Well, that's probably false because we're the only ones going up to Green Bay next weekend. I mean, that's not entirely true, but Green Bay's kind of out of the way. Bay's kind of out of the way.
Well, I mean, but just look at the weekend. We had 2 finals. 1 Mill deck won against, what was it? You said Tobias Townsend.
Yep.
And 1 Mill lost Vader Greedo. However, like I was saying earlier, I did want to preface because it's easy to look at a Facebook post or a website post and go, oh, Vader won. I absolutely think if you're doing your research, you should be aware of what close, was it not close, player skill, did Vader just get the nuts roll and roll like 4-for-1s for the first like 3 rounds straight? Like, it's never just a flat Vader wins, Mill loses. Okay. Like it should always be a much more expanded conversation. So that way you as the player know, hey, do I want to play Mill? Yes or no? What made Mill do so well versus Vader? or if you want to play Vader, did it win? Yes or no? Like you can assess the situation so that based on what you want to play, what you're going to play against, what to expect. It should never just be, okay, Vader wins. Vader just beats Mill. Like, what? Well, hold on now. That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah, and the other part of that is there's different flavors of Mill, and if you look at the top 8 from Huzzah and the top 8 from yours, and I think there was another one in Utah as well, you had Yoda, Cassian, Anakin Mill as well that top 8'd.
Yep.
So, I mean, any number of things that could have happened in between those games, a dice roll a different way, and maybe those games are different, right?
Well, yeah, so I watched the top 8 of Cassian, Yoda, Anakin versus Vader. The first game, the Vader player scooped because by like turn 3, he had like, I think 5 cards left in his deck. Because that Cassian, Yoda, Anakin got like literally everything and God rolled everything. It was crazy. Game 2 was tight. Game 2 came down to literally the last reroll of the game. Yoda had like I think it was like 2 or 3 health. The Vader player had no cards in deck, 1 card in hand, and Cassian I'm sorry, Cassian was left. Cassian was showing a discard, so he had to kill Cassian like right there and then. That's right. Yeah, Cassian. I'm sorry. Cassian in game 2 had a second chance. He was at 8 health. And the Vader had Vader Saber, Greedo, and Fist. Vader Saber, Greedo, and Fist. So he had to deal enough damage in that roll to pop a second chance and then kill Cassian. And he pitched and he rolled exactly what he needed, like perfect lethal. And that was it. That was the game. To game 3. And first turn, first act, roll out Vader. Second action. Second action, Fear and Deadman, 4 damage to Yoda, Cassian, Anakin. I will say, it was also very, very close. Justin was able to mill the opponent. He had 4 cards left in hand because he had 3 after this play, and he had cards left in his deck. He played Friends in High and got the Vader's Fist out, and he was able to clinch the game with Vader's Fist damage. So, like I said that and go, oh, Vader's Fist just beats Mill because Vader beats Yoda, Anakin. Oh, well, that's not the case. Vader did get some of those lucky God rolls and some excellent setup. It was never just, an automatic win. It was never just, an automatic win. Not going to worry about it. Super easy. We're done here. It was a tight, very well played, very close-knit game. Same thing with the old folks home deck. It was never just a free game. It was very, very, very difficult for the Vader player. They had to make some very, very tough decisions on, do I ditch this card to try and get damage? Do I hold on to this card and try and survive another round? Both of those matches were actually incredible to watch. I really wish we had a way to stream them because there was just amazing high-level Destiny in both of those matches with Vader and Cassian and Anakin, and then a different Vader versus Leia and Yoda. But it was impressive. And it was a lot of fun to watch. And I know people are like, well, I hate Mill and I hate Mill players and all that stuff. I sincerely think if you can beat a Mill player or you understand how to run against a Mill player, it will make you a better Destiny player because you have to know how to assess your resources properly, because Mill decks are all about stripping them away from you, both with their discard from deck in hand, but they also want you to inherently discard cards to reroll foolishly. They want you to play removal. They want you to pay resources to play cards that you shouldn't have done. And you, as a player facing Mill, have to understand Is this a bait? Is this a trap? Do I need to play this? Should I hold on to it to give myself another round? When do I play this? Where do I play this? And it's a very interesting challenge because it forces you to recognize traps. I think Mill is perfectly fine. It's not winning everything. Vader's not winning everything. But you should absolutely respect it and be aware that it's got legs and it's probably going to start to show up. I think we're going to see a lot more Shadowcaster decks too. I really do.
We might.
I think it might sneak back in like 2 weeks after people have been like, "Hey, you remember that time? You remember that time people used to play that Shadowcaster and all that stuff used to happen?"
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, my locals are still playing a lot of the Shadowcaster vehicle combo armored reinforcement stuff, so I expect to see that more because, like I said, nobody has. Nobody's really playing Mill right now either, so that's kind of what I'm expecting to see. But I mean, in the overall meta, I do think it will take a little while. Maybe by the end of regional season.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Other than Mill, like the Shadowcaster deck is a lot of fun to play. It's very flexible. It's got a lot of options. It's got a lot of outs. And there's very, very few times. Like the only time I ever felt like I was backed into a corner was when I either got hit with Fear and Deadman turn 1 and my team just crumbled, or if my opponent gets like a Friends in High Places, gets out the Vader's Fist and just god rolls maximum damage every time. That one is a lot less likely, but the Fear and Deadman is just it's very, very difficult to come back from. So that's 2 cards out of 30. The odds are not highly favorable for that to happen consistently. Also, they do have to roll the 4-for-1. So I mean, there's plenty of times in which you can deal with it if you have removal or you have scruffy looking nerf herder. So if they activate and they roll the 4-for-1, you're afraid of it, you can just say, okay, event, and then get rid of that problem. There's a lot of different things that can be done, but personally I just feel like it's a lot of fun. It's a very thought intensive deck. It's not an autopilot. I know some people have said Shadowcaster is just really easy. All you do is get the Shadowcaster out, throw crap on it, and there you go. Like, well, that's not true. You have to use your mitigation very wisely, and balance your resources appropriately, so you can either untap, or you have to use your overwrites appropriately too, because there's a lot of tricks to that deck where you can get overwrite shenanigans off as well. But I'm excited. I mean, like, the regionals were very successful. I had a ton of fun at mine. I assume you had fun at yours, Todd.
Yeah, man, I had a blast. Like, it was good to see it. Like, I love my community. Everybody from North Carolina all the way up through Maryland, like the group of people that we play with. Other than Rick, I love everybody in my group. Like,
Poor
everybody else is just awesome. So, like, anytime I can get together with a large group of them and just kind of hang out and bullshit and have a good time, like, I'm happy with that. Out and bullshit and have a good time. Have a good time. Like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And it was also really cool to see a lot of these people that I haven't talked to in a couple of weeks, and they're like, "Hey, man, we saw your post. Congrats on the shop moving." And I'm like, just getting to share that with them, because I mean, honestly, everything that's happened here and the fact that we're moving is all due to these people, and these people who've shown up and spent money and time. Spent money and time and hung out here and everything else. Like, that's the only reason any of this happens. And it's all due in part to everybody who's come through this door. So, like, I appreciate every bit of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we we talked between the a lot of the cities around. So we have Houston, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio. We had people representing all of those cities, and we just kind of realized we don't necessarily hang out other than like a regional event. So we're going to start to try and work together on some sort of event where we can come together, hang out, have some fun, just goof off. That was
Yeah.
And I goof off.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing that excited me. Was like the regional was great. Biggest thing that excited me was like the regional was great. I got to see a lot of friends. Oh, shout outs to Team Covenant. Zach Bunn was there. Eric Wainwright brought paddle. I don't know if he'll ever stop playing that deck, but by golly, if anyone's gonna win it, he's gonna do it. And there was just a lot of like, I saw a lot of friends, old friends. I made new friends, and for some people, like regionals might be about like winning and getting all the swag, but for me, regionals was all about seeing old faces, hanging out, getting some food, shooting the breeze. There was a Cowboys game, so like we were streaming that while the top 8 was playing.
Wow, that must have sucked, man.
Man, I hate you. Oh, go away. Like it was like you were saying, it's about the community. Like, yes, we're there to play a game, but it was bigger than that. And that's what's really exciting is like, and we were at, like, the people who didn't make the cut or people who were staying around, like we were just starting to talk about like tech cards, different plays, what might be a good team, what might be a better alternative, like how to do this, how to do that. And, we just kind of grew as players and as friends at this event. And I am super excited for all the things that are going to be happening over the next course of the year, because we're going to have new sets, we're going to have worlds, we're going to have rotation, we're going to have you have a new shop. I mean, there's so many things 2019 has to offer, and we're literally in the first week of it, and it's just it's massive, and I'm just super excited. I think this is going to be a really good year for Destiny, a really good year for players. Oh yeah, I did want to do one other shout out other than Team Covenant. I saw something on Jackalman Games Facebook. And I think anyone who's listening should take a moment, listen to this, and incorporate it into their local shop. They have a large 5x. We call them 5x's at Cool Stuff. But it's one of those big cardboard boxes that has the 5 slots of 1,000 cards. You know what I'm talking about, Todd?
Yeah.
Okay. So what Jackalman Games did was all of their community folks took what Jackalman Games did. All of their community folks took whatever extra cards they have, commons, uncommons, rares. They just threw them in the box. And the deal is, it sits on the counter at the shop, and it's a 1-for-1 trade. If you need a common, you just take a common, you put a common back. Same thing for uncommons and rares. So it's super friendly. New players can just get their hands on whatever they want. It's a great way to put the extras you don't need to use, especially if you've got newer players who are just starting to play the game and they need certain cards, and you've just got a buttload of, most of us who have collections have a ton of extra stuff, and it was just really cool. Like, there were like 2 slots that were full of dice and rare cards, and then the rest were commons and uncommons. And they were saying like, it's an honor system. Don't be a douche,
a dick.
Don't be a dick. Don't steal cards. But
a dick.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Don't steal cards. But don't steal cards. But they were saying like newer players were able to find the things they needed very easily. They could get, They could get. I mean, it's just a great idea. I think it was a massively brilliant idea. I never even considered that. So if you're listening and you haven't started it, I think try it. I mean, I've got a ton of extras I'm going to give to my local shop and say, here, just, let someone trade one for one. I don't need them. They're literally collecting dust in my house. So let someone who needs them have them. So yeah, I did want to shout that out. I really think it's a great idea. I don't know why no one ever thought of that before, but it makes sense.
That's actually a really good idea. Good idea.
Now, of course, we were talking about it at the regional because I brought it up and someone was like, are there legendaries in there? And I don't know the answer to that question. I assume the answer is no. I don't know. I haven't actually talked to Jackalman about it. Like I said, I saw it on a Facebook post. I mean, there are some legendaries that aren't super wanted. So I mean that's up to you and your local community. But something we were talking was community, but something we were talking about at regionals was new players. We actually had a couple newer players who had just started playing Destiny at the event, and that's kind of one of the things I feel like when we get into regional season and get ready for Worlds, I do think that sometimes those players get overlooked. I think that a lot of players are getting ready for high-end competition and prizes and traveling and practice and gauntlet testing, and that's important, but we should never overlook newer, because we were all newer players at some point, and feel personally that the reason those of us who do content, write articles, play in events, win events, the reason why we're so passionate about the game is because we had a good support system of people who were also passionate, and we all got together and we talked and we played and we talked and we played and we played and we talked, and we kept getting deeper and deeper into the game together. And we never really want to segregate or ostracize newer players who have that same interest, because if we do that, then we kind of get rid of that next generation of Destiny players who are coming in that want to participate with us. So, as we keep moving forward with getting closer to Worlds, because that's really what we're moving towards is May. If you have newer players coming in, or you notice that there's players who want to get better, I recommend, take a moment, talk to them. See if they want to play some testing games. See if they have any, trades, if there's cards they need. Invest time in the newer players. Invest time in those who are where you were at one point, and help grow the community by spending, a few moments playing a game of Destiny with someone brand new. I mean, it's going to be fun. You're going to play Destiny, and who knows what happens? You never know. You might make a new friend. They might show you some play you've never seen before. It's never a waste of time or a waste of space to just hang out with someone, just play some games with them. To them.
Yeah, new people are the best.
Yeah, people suck.
I think we said opposite things.
Yeah, don't play with Rick. Don't play with Rick. He's a dick.
That's been kind of the theme of tonight is Todd and Nick are...
Rick's a dick. No, Rick. Can we title this episode? Yeah, don't play with Rick. He's a dick. He's a dick. He's a dick.
That's been kind of the theme of tonight is Todd and Nick are...
Rick's a dick.
No, Rick.
Can we title this episode Rick's a dick?
No, we can't because it would say Rick Zanutini, and then
That'd be
never know.
awesome. Oh my god, it's so good.
That's been kind of the theme of tonight is
Rick
Todd and
Zadig.
Nick are
Rick
Todd
Zadig.
and
Zadig.
Nick. Todd and Nick are
Rick
no,
Zadig.
no,
Zadig.
no.
Rick
No,
Zadig.
no.
Can we title this episode Rick Zadig? Rick Zadig. Zadig. Rick.
No, we can't because it would say Rick Zanutini, and then
That'd be
never know.
awesome. Oh my god, it's so good.
No, we're not doing
I
that.
feel like Han Solo said that in one of the episodes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said. He said Rick is a Nutini.
No, I'm sorry. It was Chewbacca that said it.
That is more possible. We
Yep.
don't know what Chewbacca says.
I'm pretty sure he said.
It says.
Pretty sure he said Rick is a.
Do you
dick.
do you
Is a.
do you speak? Do you speak? What is the language? I'm gonna get like burned alive. I'm gonna get like burned alive by like Star Wars fans. What is the language that Wookiees speak?
I don't know. Is it Wookiean? Kashyyykian?
Wootopian?
No.
Kashyyykian. Kashyyykian.
Really?
Kashyyykian sounds right.
I'm gonna look it up. In a minute.
They're from Kashyyyk, right?
Yeah, Kashyyykian. Yeah, Kashyyykian.
Kashyyykian.
It's Shri Wookie. Shai Shiri
No,
Wookie. Shiri Wook.
it's Shrywook.
Shiri Wook.
What the hell is that?
Shiri Wookie. Shiri
No,
Wookie. Shiri Wook.
it's Shrywook.
Shiri Wook.
What the hell is that? What the hell is? What the hell is that? What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
It's right on here on Google. The Wookiee language is Shrywook. Which is Shrywook.
Also
it's
known
it's not,
as Wookiee speak.
Yeah. that is what it says
Or
here.
Kashyyykian.
Oh gosh.
Or
Wow, that's pretty good, man.
Wait, there's a Lobaka?
wait, what's
Oh,
a
he's a-
Lobaka?
No, he's a nephew of
Is
Chewbacca.
it Chewbacca's son with a Lobot helmet on?
Yes.
I
So, like-
literally just said what it was.
So, like, there was this time when Chewbacca hooked up with Lobot,
Oh god.
and it was a really weird relationship, and none of us knew this up until the point that
God.
Chewbacca actually got pregnant, that he's actually a woman.
What?
And
What?
yep, and so they had
He's a
Lobacca.
prince.
No. No. Chewbacca's a prince.
Nope, not now.
What?
Now he is the mother of Lobacca. Man, I have had too many beers. Can we end
All
this
right.
shit?
Yep. I was gonna say.
Can we end
All
this
right.
shit? Shit.
Yep.
Shit.
All right.
Can we end
All
it?
right. Yep. I was gonna say you have gone off the deep end there, bruh.
Yep.
We're gonna wrap this up. So, yeah,
We need to edit all that out. That's just bad, poor radio.
yeah, pretty much. Well, I don't know. It
I
might be on,
apologize.
it's gonna be on that Patreon because we're gonna start doing the uncut stuff for the Patreon so they can hear all of your. We're gonna wrap this up. So. So here we go. Let's get on out of here. In 3, 2, 1. This up. So, all right. Well, that is pretty much the end of the show. We are going to get right on out of here, but this was a fantastic week. There's so many things going on in Star Wars Destiny right now. The meta is really wide open. There's lots of decks that have been figured out. There's lots of decks to be discovered. And as we go along through this regional season, we're going to do just all kind of coverage and talk about all kinds of stuff. I'm planning on going to the Tulsa event at Team Covenant in 2 weeks. And then I'm also planning on going to the Masters event in 4 weeks at the start of February. So I'm going to be doing some traveling. My immediate family lives in Tulsa, so I'm going to go see my mom, my dad, brother, sister, take mom out to a nice breakfast, tell her I love her, and then go play some Destiny. But definitely come check me out. Come check out Team Covenant if you're in the Tulsa area, heading out to that regional. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tulsa also has some really good food that I'm excited to go and consume back in my hometown. Kind of, I guess LA's my hometown, so Tulsa's my sub home. I don't know. Anyways, but we're getting out of here. So a big thank you to all of our Patreons. Thank you to all of our supporters and fans. We do this because of you. We love meeting each and every one of you. So if you see, myself, Rick, Nick, or Todd at any of these events, please feel free to swing by. Say hi. We love meeting new people and just talking about Destiny. Todd likes talking about Guar because I don't know why.
I like it when people buy me beer.
So buy Todd beer, and he'll spin you a tale of terrible things. So we are going to get on out of here. I do want to make a real quick announcement. We are shifting our Patreon to be a little bit different, so do check that out. We are going to be uploading the podcast as an early access show to Patreons starting at the point in which you're listening to be also put it, but we're going to be uploading the unedited version because I actually had quite a few people. Yeah, over the last couple months, I've had a lot of people asking, what the heck is Todd talking about? And we cut out a lot of things, or, people asking, how much editing do you do? I do a lot. I go, why? I'm like, Todd makes me edit a lot out. They're like, man, I wish I could listen to that. Well, now you can. Patreons, if you would like to, you can listen to unedited versions of the podcast, and you can hear all of the words that Todd says and all the guar you can handle. So
I'm sorry. I'll give you $1 back after you listen to it.
We are going to be making some adjustments to 2019 and our Patreon setup, but it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be very laid back, very fun, and you can hear a lot more behind the scenes what Knights of Ren sounds like before it goes into post-production and gets edited and UT'd to death. So thank you to everyone who listened. Big thank you to Common Ground Games. What shop did you play at, Todd?
Huzzah in Ashburn.
Yeah, big shout outs to both of the game stores. We didn't actually mention them by name, but Jameis is the owner and proprietor of Common Ground. It was a super smooth event. It was super fun. Jameson was a fantastic host and provided everything. We had plenty of space, plenty of tables. Everything was labeled appropriately. We had big TVs with timers. It was super smooth, and it's something that should be mentioned as much as possible. That yes, the players did well, and the coverage was what it was, and we all had fun. But we couldn't do this without a physical shop. So thank you to Huzzah Hobbies. Thank you to Common Ground Games. If you're in the Dallas area or the Ashburn, Virginia area, please go and check out those shops. Buy a booster pack, crack a Vader, and enjoy supporting your local game store. So that's it. We will see everyone next time, and as always, may the force be with you. Force be with you. Check out those shops, buy a booster pack, crack a Vader, and enjoy supporting your local game store. So that's it. We will see everyone next time, and as always, may the force be with you. All right, let's let's check the front end, make sure everything's looking good, The Knights of Ren podcast is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., your source for Star Wars Destiny singles, sealed product, and more. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Show me again the power of the darkness.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll. D20radio.com. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Knights of Ren, episode 804. This is the beginning of 29. All right, everybody, that is the end of this live stream editing the podcast for episode 805. I'm going to go upload this right now, and you can listen to it in its entirety. So thanks for joining us. It was a lot of fun, and we'll see you around next time.